was so proudly greeted at the twilight's last gleaming. Here's the suns and bright stars through the perilous fight. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, bubbles bursting in air, came through the night, and our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land is free, and the home of glory. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our prayer, Nathan Wallace will lead us.
Let's start as a prayer. Lord Jesus, we want to take time to thank you for who you are, for forgiving us for our sins when we trust in you. Lord, we thank you for this food, this meeting, and this club. Thank you for WRC and all the staff who work here and all the good that they do in our community. Lord, we ask that you would be gracious to us, that you would make our hearts more like your heart, that we would be compassionate, generous, loving, kind, and selfless. I pray that you would bless the mission of this club, our activities, all the charities and nonprofits that we support. I pray that 2022 would be a breakthrough year for them and doing good in our community, and that we would put service above self. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Thank you. Family of Rotary, Terry.
Thank you very much, President Sheila. Hope you all are having a great Monday. I always miss it when I don't get to see all these smiling faces. Don't seem like it's a good week, you know? This is just kind of a great way to start. First of all, let's remember one of our fellow Rotarians, Mary Beth Meadows. Her father passed away, Edward Ruggiero, and remember the family in prayers. And also, if you happen to come in contact with Robbie Thomas, congratulations to Robbie and Patricia Thomas. They have a brand new baby boy, Samuel Edward Thomas, 7 pounds and 4 ounces. So apparently the legacy will continue, maybe another TV broadcast.
Maybe.
Maybe, you know?
But definitely a Georgia fan.
And yeah, kind of slightly. You know, I've got some family like that. We do talk to our family occasionally, not about football. Anyway, birthdays: Willis Smithers, January 31st. Adam Hall, February the 2nd. Bob Rudder, February the 3rd. Cameron Good, February the 5th. And one big anniversary to celebrate: Robert Bird and Tony on February the 3rd. Hope you all have a fantastic week. Thank you.
Deanne, introduction of guests and visiting Rotarian.
I didn't ask for this, but if I could say something for 30 seconds, I would. Given the mic, and I will take advantage of it. I do want to say a heartfelt thank you for all of those that volunteered your services last month to ring the bell, and those that adopted angels. You all did a remarkable job in making sure that Hope marched on during the Christmas season. And I would like to tell you how well you did. In comparison to the year before we arrived here in Dothan, Alabama, you made about $800. Again, you were in the at the mall location. We moved you to the Hobby Lobby location, and last year you made approximately $1,500. This year you went above and beyond, and you made $2,625.91. So we thank you for giving up your time. I know it can be, I think for some it's really fun out there. For others, it may be more tedious. I'm the tedious governor. That takes it goes by very slowly, but I do thank you for your time. Today, we are happy to welcome our guests and visiting Rotarians. When I call your name, we would love for you to stand and remain standing as we recognize all visitors. We have our very lovely Mayor Mark Saliba today, who is a guest of Larry Williams. Then we have Morgan Engel, who is a guest of Catherine Melee. And then we have the wonderful, extraordinary Nathan Jones, who is the guest of me today. Are there any visitors or visiting Rotarians that we may have missed? Okay, well, thank you for listening.
Okay, Steph, we're ready for Camp Astor now. $2,593 points. And that ticket number is the last four, 6953. 6953.
I got the cigar.
Hey.
Question is, did I get the whole enchilada? Check this number. I do have my hat. Okay, all right. Is it in the deck?
Always. Nine of spades.
No enchilada.
Oh, well, next time.
Maybe I need to buy a lottery ticket. Halfway there.
So back in December, we voted, and then we missed several meetings, but I did want to announce our officers and our directors for this coming year. So I'm going to call your name. If you're here, please stand. So Greg Hendricks will be our president. Josh Chapman is our president-elect. Rick Ryford is our vice president. Our newly elected directors are Art Morris, Jason Rudd, and Donna Tomlin. So they will be serving us in 2022, 2024. All right, I had a couple announcements, David. I failed to ask you if you wanted to speak about the soup, but
You go right ahead.
thank you. We've started our soup drive for the year. Thank you to some of you that already brought soup. So this will benefit the Wiregrass Food Bank's brown bag program. So if you could just bring your soup at the next few meetings. I think the last collection day is February the 21st. And I also said, if some of you would like to contribute, but don't really think you have time to go shop for soup, let me know and tell me how much you'd like to spend. We will buy some soup for you and donate.
Let me add right there that whatever monetary donations we get, we will do the same thing. We've got a wholesaler that will buy soup. So,
Okay, well, we might just go that route.
Okay.
That price should be better than the price I would get. All right, so thank you guys. Thank you for reading my email. I was excited when I saw some soup come in today. Okay, and also then we're having a blood drive. I wanted to make that announcement. today, that is gonna be on February the 14th, and it will be here in Rotary Hall. And it's a lifestyle blood drive, so if you can fit that into your schedule on the 14th. We're partnering with WRC to do that. Okay. Bruce, you have some announcements, I believe.
I do. For those that were able to participate in our district mid-year conference this past weekend, thank you. And for those that you were not able to come, you missed a good one. There were several of you that worked their tails off, and I want to thank them for that. Too many to announce at this time, but they know who they are. Now, Sheila, you did receive a couple of awards, and I received a couple more in the mail, but unfortunately, you don't get credit for it. I'm sorry. Your predecessor actually got credit. There's a number of Rotary International recognitions that were given, and this is for the 2021 year. And who could tell me who the president was in our 2021 Rotary year? James Edwards. Well, come up here, James. Again, there's several recognition awards, and because we have a speaker, we can't stay up here long, James. The first one is End Polio Now. You did an outstanding job last year raising dollars, along obviously with every member here, to End Polio Now. Rotary Club of Dothan has presented a certificate of appreciation for its financial support of End Polio Now, countdown to history campaign. Together we will fulfill our promise to the children of the world and eradicate polio. You did your part along with the members. Next is a pretty special award. This is the 2021 Rotary Citation. That means there's a whole list of things you have to accomplish in your Rotary year to be able to get this. And as usual, James came through. So this is awarded to the Rotary Club of Dothan for helping Rotary open opportunities in lives of people all over the world. And the Rotary Citation for your year, James. We're not through. Oh, we're just getting started here. As you can see, he had a very successful year, and you're doing an outstanding job, President Sheila, but he set the bar high. Here we go. This flag is for the 100% Foundation Giving Club. So this club averaged $100 per member, so 100% participation for the 2021 year. And then every Rotarian every year, so every Rotarian in this club gave to the foundation, and we received a US $100 per capita participation flag for the 2021 year. Congratulations.
For all that you've done. All right, Greg and Blake. Where'd you come from?
We're here to induct our newest member, Blake Hurst. Can't read over my shoulder back. Blake is a Dothan native who attended Northside Methodist and later the University of Alabama. Roll Tide. He graduated from the university with a degree in mechanical engineering in 2014. He worked for 5 years in the automotive industry and the paper industry. Blake recently completed a ministry leadership degree from Highlands College, which caused him to reevaluate his career path. And he chose to become a financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual Wealth Management Company, as am I. Blake has a heart for ministry in the workplace and enjoys helping businesses, business owners, and families plan for their futures. He thrives on using his engineering background to solve complex business, estate, and retirement distributions problems. Blake is married to Karis Dyson of Birmingham, and folks, he outkicked his coverage on this one. That's a joke, I'm sorry. She's also a 2014 graduate of the University of Alabama with a degree in nursing and a 2020 graduate with a master's of family nurse practitioner degree, and is now a nurse practitioner with Dr. Asha Voss. Prior to working with Dr. Voss, she was a neonatal intensive care nurse for 7 years. They have 3 boys, 3 years to 8 months. An interesting fact, and I don't think any of the rest of us can claim this, Blake is a tripper. So you may see him around town a lot. But you're not, probably. I was in a restaurant last week and saw him coming in with 2 guys from the city. His brother's a city and traffic engineer. And I thought for about 30 minutes across the restaurant, there's Blake. It wasn't, so. When Blake is not working, raising 3 boys, being a husband, teaching small groups, he enjoys dove hunting, wakeboarding, and turkey hunting. I give you our newest member, Blake Hurst.
In this club, because we feel like you have all the qualities that enable you to exemplify the spirit of Rotary. And you've been admitted not only to the Dothan Rotary Club, but to an international organization that does good things throughout the world. And you'll be welcome when you're traveling in any one of these club meetings. You'll be called on to do some things while you're in Rotary. It carries with it duties and obligations. You will be expected to attend the meetings and to perform club service and to use your knowledge and talents when asked to assist the club. So on behalf of the entire membership of the Dothan Rotary Club, I formally admit you to membership in this club and would ask your sponsor to give you your badge, pin, and your 4-way test plaque. You'll wear the badge, and that's at the meetings. And we do your membership by whether your badge is in the box or on you. So wear it every meeting. So welcome. We're glad to have you. Let's give him a standing ovation. All right, Josh, you ready to introduce our speaker?
Yeah, the first time Blake visited, I saw him walk in and I was like, "Hey, Garrett." And Blake didn't turn around and look, and I was like, "Oh, that's one of the triplets." So I learned the hard way. I worked with his brother Garrett in the city, so good guys. We're happy to have Chris Jackson with us today. Chris is proud to have always called South Alabama home. Coming from a family of Christian entrepreneurs and farmers, Chris has always had an interest in business and ministry. In 2014, Chris, along with 2 friends, founded Ironworks, a ministry designed to reach the men of South Alabama. Excuse me. For almost 8 years, they hosted the old school men's meeting where men were served a free steak dinner while sitting under national quality speakers. In 2018, Chris became a personal and leadership coach with 10 Man Ministries. There he worked with Christian businesses and ministry leaders from around the world to discover who they were made to be so they could do what they were made to do. Starting in 2022, Chris has combined his interest in business, ministry, and leadership coaching with C12. C12 is a global network of Christian business leaders focused on building better businesses for a greater purpose. Chris's wife, Shannon, is an invaluable part of his life, work, and ministry. Chris and Shannon call Andalusia home and love to spend time with their 6 kids and chase adventures around the country. Let's welcome Chris Jackson.
glad to be with y'all today. Shannon and I do have 6 kids, but usually when that is said, people go, wow, 6 kids, but the truth of the matter is they're all leaving us. So it's kind of like there's only one left. We only have one left at home, and he's a senior in high school. And so Shannon and I are discovering this next stage of life and this next adventure that we're going on. As John said, I've always called South Alabama home. So I know Andalusia, you say, well, he's an outsider. Well, I don't feel like an outsider. I feel like I'm just one of you, because I guarantee you we have more in common than we have differences. And so we'll just focus on what we have in common. I grew up between Andalusia and Fort Island, a little community called Red Oak. Now, I always said that I didn't grow up in Mayberry, but it was pretty close, and that's kind of how Red Oak was. Now, we didn't have a town drunk like Otis, but we did have a community guy that grew a lot of marijuana, so that was kind of the same thing. My parents cleared off some land and raised our family in our home. My dad called it Jackson's Knob, and that's where we grew up. And we grew up with a lot of family, a lot of faith, a lot of outdoors, a lot of food, and family was always really, really important. I was very fortunate to have and still continue to have a very close family. I had my grandparents most of my life. My grandmother on my dad's side, I lost in 2005. And on my mother's side, I lost my grandparents in 2014 and 15 at 95 and 96. They died 1 year and 20 minutes apart from one another. Now, I'll tell you just really quick how I kind of make sense of that in my mind. My grandmother died first. And when my grandfather died, we were talking about how it was 1 year and 20 minutes between the two deaths. And I had a friend of mine, he said, you know how that worked, right? And I said, no, tell me. He said, you know, it was your grandmother's 1 year birthday in heaven. And Jesus said, hey, what do you want for your birthday? And she said, you know. And that transaction took 20 minutes. Now, I don't think I can biblically and theologically prove that, but I do enjoy at least thinking about that. So growing up, I'm very thankful for the way I grew up, but I don't want to paint the wrong picture. Everything wasn't perfect. I grew up in a home where we only had one TV. Can you imagine today only had one TV? We only had one TV, and that TV had 3 channels. And Channel 12 in Montgomery, what was that? That's it, y'all know. WTVY in Dothan, and Channel 2, which was PBS, which we never watched after we outgrew Sesame Street. So really, we only had 2 channels. Now, usually my daddy kept pretty tight reins over what we watched, but with just 2 channels, there wasn't a lot of options. Now, when I was a teenager, we witnessed a miracle at our house. Code Electronics come and put a huge satellite dish in our yard, and all of a sudden we went from 2 channels to having hundreds of channels of streaming goodness and some not so good in our home. But still, we only had one TV. And so we were forced to watch TV together. We spent a lot of time together. Now, that is such a foreign thing today, because even if you don't have a lot of TVs in your house, you have a lot of screens, right? And so we don't spend as much time as we used to. But growing up, that was very, really important. And so watching TV at night was something we did a lot with our family. And as long as my daddy had control over what we watched, it was pretty good. Because it was the 70s and 80s, and usually he let us watch good things. Like we watched 6 Million Dollar Man. We watched 18. And we watched Magnum PI. Now, if my 10-year-old self could come out and meet my 50-year-old self, I'm pretty sure my 10-year-old self would still be disappointed that I don't drive a red Ferrari. Because I had every intent to drive a red Ferrari, and I just haven't made it yet. But we'll see if Shannon will let me have one day. But every now and then, my mother would claim executive privilege, and she would force us to watch something that wasn't quite as good. Bad stuff on a 10-year-old boy, things like The Sound of Music. You know, Sound of Music for a boy that's 8 or 10 years old, that was rough. That was really rough. She also forced us to watch Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I'm telling you, I had nightmares about Oompa Loompas. Those things scared me to death. A couple of years ago, before COVID, you know, we used to split time at Jesus. Now we split time for COVID. Well, before COVID, I took my mother to pay her back to see Sound of Music at Shakespeare Festival in Montgomery, and we were laughing about how bad those Oompa Loompas used to scare me. And she said, I had no idea. And I said, Mom, I was the fat kid. I said, do you remember what happened to the fat kid in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? It did not go well.
No, it didn't.
And so I would have nightmares to get sucked up that tube. It was not good. It was not good. But the scariest thing she would force us to watch was Wizard of Oz. Y'all know what I'm about to say, don't you?
Blind monkeys.
Flying monkeys, man. Those things terrified me. I mean, they terrified me. They were scarier than Oompa Loompas, but they were both scary. So my mama, she didn't really take my growing up, she didn't hold me very tightly and think about how tender I was watching these things. I'd been a lot better off sticking a mag of BI. But as I think back today, thinking about the Wizard of Oz, the flying monkeys don't scare me near as bad as they used to. A little bit, but not as bad as they used to. The character in the Wizard of Oz that scares me most today is the Tin Man. And I want to tell you why we all should be a little afraid of the Tin Man. We all have this danger of becoming one. The Tin Man was a man without heart. You think about this, think about when we meet the Tin Man in the Wizard of Oz, he's standing beside the yellow brick road and he's frozen. We don't really know how he gets there. He's just frozen beside the yellow brick road and he says, "Follow me, follow me." And they couldn't figure out what he wanted to do, but finally they figured all that out. But how did he get it? Well, we find out there's a backstory behind the Tin Man, because see, there was actually 14 books written by Frank Baum around this magical place called Oz. And we find out that the Tin Man wasn't always made of tin. He was a young man, like a lot of us in here were at one time. And his name was Nick Chopper. Nick Chopper was a woodsman, which with a name like Nick Chopper, that's a pretty good job to have, is be a woodsman. And Nick was a woodsman like his father before him. And Nick, like a lot of us, when he was young, he had big hopes and dreams of this life that he wanted to create. And like a lot of us, the life that he wanted to create, the dreams he had involved a lady. See, Nick was in love with a Munchkin maiden. Can you imagine being in love with a Munchkin maiden? And her name was Amy. And so Nick had this dream of creating this life with Amy, that they would go out to the woods and they'd clear some land. He was going to build them their dream home in the woods. Well, just as with your story and my story, Nick's story had a villain, that's somebody that was against his hopes and dreams. And this villain was a wicked witch. She did not want Nick and Amy to get together, so she, in secret, she went and secretly cursed his acts. In other words, she cursed his work. Does that sound familiar? They didn't know this, but they were still, in love and had all these dreams. So Nick started out to the forest to start clearing the woods. And while he's out there, he's chopping away. And then one day, sure enough, the cursed axe turns on him and cuts his arm really bad, mortally wounded. Nick barely made it to the next village, but when he got there, there was no doctor in that village. But there was, however, a tinsmith, and he's supposed to be the greatest in the land. And so the tinsmith said, "I can fix your arm, but I'm going to have to give you another arm." And so what he does, he gives Nick a metal arm made of metal. But at first, Nick is not too sure about that. What he finds out is that metal arm is actually better than the real arm, because that metal arm is stronger. It doesn't get as tired, and he can do more work. So he gets back after it, because Amy, she doesn't care. She just loves Nick. She loves her looks at. So Nick goes to chopping again, and pretty soon the cursed axe gets his other arm, another trip to the tinsmith. But now he's lost both arms, and now both arms are made of metal. But Nick is finding, I get tired of this. I can work more. I can get more done. See, Nick's work was supposed to be a vehicle to provide the life that he wanted. His work was supposed to be something that made a difference. But slowly what was happening was this vehicle for life was becoming life. Soon, Nick's axe got his leg and his other leg. And slowly, Nick became less of Nick and less human and more machine. He was becoming the Tin Man. Work. And this life that he wanted was now different than it started out. Instead of being a vehicle for life, like I said, it became his life. And being it had become life, it was starting to take that very life from him. Because he started paying less and less attention to Amy and more attention at work. And so he became more and more familiar, more and more comfortable at work, and less familiar with his Munchkin maiden, and much less familiar in relationships. Matter of fact, his last conversation with Amy was she'd come to the woods to check on him because he'd been working a long time. And she said, Nick, please come back. Please, let's get back to this life that we wanted. And Nick pushed her away and said, not now, I have work. Nick's life had gotten out of balance. We all sometimes get to that place where our life gets out of balance. I know mine does. It's easy for me to get to that routine where it's work, 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 work. So that's where we find Nick in the Wizard of Oz, the movie. We find him that he has gotten to that place where he's all machine. But how did he get there? So what happened was when Amy was out of his life, he just worked, and he got to the point where he quit taking care of himself. So one day he was out there chopping wood and it started raining. And Nick had not oiled himself in a long time because he just had so much work to do. You know, he just had so much work to do. And Amy didn't really understand him anyway. You know, nobody really understands me, all this responsibility I have. And he quit oiling himself. And when the rains came, he froze and did chop. And the next time we meet Nick, Twin Dorothy and Scarecrow and Toto find him, and he's frozen. He'd been there for years. Amy was gone, who knows where. He had all this time to think about all the mistakes. So at this point, Nick, now the Tin Man, needed someone to do something for him that he could not do for himself. So we all need that from time to time. We need people in our life that can do something for us that we can't do for us. But we don't like that. You know, we all like to be the one to help people up. We all like to be the ones that help people in need, but we really don't like to be the person in need, right? We don't really like to be that person. But from time to time, we are. So Nick, now the Tin Man, joined Dorothy and the rest of the crew, and they were going to the Wizard. And so Nick learned something like on that route. He found out that what he needed in life is he needed some fellow travelers, some people that could give him something that he didn't have, that perspective that wasn't him, that they could see him in a different way. Somebody that could call him out on his stuff. We all need people in our life that can call us out on our stuff. And if we don't have that, we'll end up doing stupid stuff. We also need people in our life to encourage us and remind us of who we really are. See, when Nick got to the Wizard didn't give him something he already had, that he didn't already have. Remember, he gave him a clock. But what Dorothy and his friends told him, and what the Wizard told him, said, you have a lot of heart already. You just forgotten who you are. We all need those people in our life. We all need those fellow travelers in our life to help us along the way. So Nick, now being wholehearted, remembering who he was, he never chopped wood again. Even after Dorothy went back to Kansas, that wasn't the end of his story. He actually became the king of the Winky Country. Y'all remember that, right? That was the name of the place, it was Winky Country. He actually became the king there because he was a full-hearted human at the time that understands the value of having people around him. Several years ago, I have a brother that's 10 years younger than me. He lives in North Carolina. He's a successful businessman up there. And several years ago, he calls me. He said, "Hey, have you ever heard of this organization called C12?" I told him I had not. I had done a lot of ministry things, a lot of business things, but I'd never heard of C12. He said, I hadn't either. He said, but I've been invited to join. He said, it's some kind of Christian businessman's thing, but he said, to be honest with you, I just don't know if I have time to do it. He said, they get together once a month. At the time, he had just bought a business and was really, really busy. Today, he would tell you he does not have time to miss. Today, he would tell you that he, like the Tin Man, has learned that through C12 that he needed a group of fellow travelers to walk along life with him. Some people that would remind him who he was and people that would call him out. He would tell you today that joining the C12 has been the most impactful thing for his life, his faith, and his over 100 employees. It's been a really important part of his life. We have a first cousin that's very close to us, and a few years after that, he encouraged our first cousin to join C12, and his experience has been the same. C12 is facilitated or led by a person who's a chair. That's the leader's name. My cousin and my brother both have been encouraging me for a long time to be a chair. they thought as a leadership coach, that'd be something I would be good at. You know, sometimes we have to trust what other people say about us. So beginning this year, I'm bringing C12 to South Alabama. There's several C12 groups in North Alabama. There's several in the Panhandle, but there's not been anybody within the Southern Alabama territory, which is Montgomery South. So I've started that as of January 1 this year. John Maxwell has said that successful people are the people that do the same things that unsuccessful people won't. So while most business people, they'll get together once a year or do some kind of retreat once a year to step back, step out of their routine, to evaluate their business, evaluate their life. C12 members, we step back every month. Every month we step out of our routine and we evaluate our businesses, we evaluate our lives by going through an MBA level curriculum, by evaluating our lives around a balance wheel of 8 key indicators. And we share openly about our lives, celebrating our successes and mourning our losses. And all while encouraging one another's excellence. See, it's really important to have the right people in your life. We often hear that the people in our life, having people in our life will get us to where we want to go, but that's not necessarily true. It's really about having the right people in our life. See, if we have the right people in our life, we can reach a lot farther, we can run a lot faster than having the wrong people. We need people in our life that'll be honest with us, that we trust because we know that they love us, that we trust because we have an environment of trust and confidentiality. And that's what we have done with C12. Many times, the larger the organization we run, the more isolated we become. The larger the organization we run, the more danger we have of becoming a team. I know throughout my life, being in business and ministry, different things, there have been several times where I became the team. Sometimes I had people in my corner that would remind me, hey, this is who you are. Hey, this you're not acting like who you are. You're doing some stupid things. And when I had those people in my life, I could grow from it, I could learn from it. But the times when I didn't have that, I've done a lot of damage to myself and people that love me. So that's what I'm here to just explain to you today is what C12 is about. And I'll be bringing this to South Alabama, so you'll probably see a lot of you around. I hope you see a lot of you around. I'll probably blow up a lot of your inboxes, emails and stuff like that. I would love to talk to you more about C12. We have our first meeting here in a couple of weeks. It's a really, really important thing. I was telling somebody last week I had a meeting in Mobile, and he was asking about C12, and I told him C12 is one of the only organizations that the closer I get to the organization, the better I know the people running it, the more excited I am. So I would like to invite you to be a part of our fellow travelers. I would invite you to come to our circle and let's watch each other's backs. Thank you for having me today.
We have a little extra time left. Would there be any questions for him?
Do you have a website now, or explain that what is?
JoinC12.com.
Les?
The group in Andalusia that you were part of sounds like something that one of my managers started called Wiregrass Men of Valor, and I think they met in Brockton. I think they may have modeled after what you're doing in Andalusia, where they meet together once a month and they're invited for the stuff provided, and then they have worship and a speaker. And so is there, those two groups are different than C12, or are they potentially part of the same umbrella?
No, it's completely different. The group that you're talking about, it's open to the public. Anybody is welcome. C12 is a lot more exclusive, I'll say.
Okay.
And a little bit more restrictive on who can join.
I see.
Okay. Linda?
I just wanted to mention that Wallace Community College will be presenting the Wizard of Oz.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear when. Then will they say?
And I don't know the dates.
great job. I've been to some of their performances.
Well, now you'll know the rest of the story.
Behind the scenes. Okay, anybody else? Awesome, well, thank you so much for being here. Next week's program will be Brittany Shepherd. She's gonna talk to us about the Right to Key program in Dothan City Schools, Right to Key program, and the impact that it's had. So Troy, you are a greeter today. Thank you for doing that, and thank you for our visitors, and then you'll come back. And let's stand and recite the four-way test. So of all the things that we think, say, and do, is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you for being here. Have a good week.
Congratulations.
Thank you.